take a deep breath, letting the cool night air fill your lungs. As you slowly exhale, the weight of the day's cares drifts away on the breeze. Your muscles release their tension bit by bit. Your shoulders drop, your jaw softens, and even your brow smooths free of worry. In this gentle moment, you allow yourself to simply be safe, unhurried, and at peace. Another deep breath, in and out. Feel how the stillness around you begins to seep into your bones, a comforting heaviness inviting you to rest. There is nothing you need to do right now, nowhere you need to be. All the responsibilities and noise of the waking world can fade into the background. You are at the threshold of a different place, a quiet realm woven from imagination and dreams. Maybe you sense a presence near, a kind and familiar figure standing just out of sight. Perhaps it's the Sandman himself, here to guide you on this journey into slumber. Under his gentle watch, you know you are safe. He beckons you forward silently, inviting you to step away from reality and wander into a soft, storybook world for a while. Allow your eyes to drift closed if they aren't already. With them shut, notice how much more vivid your other senses become. The subtle scent of night-blooming flowers in the air, the distant whisper of a lullaby breeze, the warm hint of a blanket drawn up to your chin. Everything is preparing you for rest. Even your mind is beginning to paint pictures in the darkness behind your eyelids. It starts with a tiny spark of light, far off in the black. The spark grows, and you realize it's dawn. A gentle, rosy sunrise glowing on the horizon of your mind's eye. You feel a fresh, cool breeze, the kind that comes at daybreak after a night of sweet dreams. You hear birds beginning to chirp somewhere nearby, their songs clear and bright. Slowly, a new scene comes into focus around you. In your imagination, night has given way to morning. You have arrived in a serene place, a world where time moves slowly and each moment feels sacred. It is here that your journey will unfold. Let the picture sharpen and colors bloom. Soft golden sunlight, pale blue sky. You awaken gently to the soft hush of early morning. Your eyes flutter open, and for a moment you simply lie there, warm and snug under a woven quilt. The first thing you notice is the light, a pale gold glow that slips in through a small window by your bed. It paints dappled patterns on the wooden floorboards and on the simple walls of your room. The air is cool against your cheeks, but the rest of you is cocooned in comforting warmth. For a few breaths, you remain still, savoring the safe, lazy feeling of dawn. The mattress beneath you is firm yet forgiving, and as you stretch your legs and point your toes, You feel the slight resistance of the heavy quilt tucked around you. A yawn forms, and you let it out freely, unconcerned about anything beyond this quiet moment. You notice a hint of dryness at the corners of your eyes, a fine, gritty sensation when you blink. Reaching up, you rub it away with your fingertips. A tiny grain of sand clings there, making you smile sleepily. It's as if a secret sign was left just for you, evidence that the Sandman came by in the night to bring you pleasant dreams. What did you dream about? The memory is gentle and hazy, like a fading star at dawn. Perhaps you were wandering through a summer field, or having tea with a friendly giant, or simply floating on your back in a calm, moonlit sea. Whatever it was, the feeling it left behind is one of peace and curiosity, a subtle happiness that lingers as you wake. You inhale deeply, and the scent of morning fills your nose. The air here carries a mix of comforting aromas, a trace of wood smoke from last night's fire in the hearth, the earthy smell of dried herbs hanging in little bunches from the rafters, and a faint sweetness like wildflowers or hay. With each breath, you become more aware of your surroundings. Slowly, you prop yourself up on one elbow and gaze around the room. It's a humble, cozy space, bathed in that early light. The walls are made of smooth wooden panels, their knotted grain telling the story of old trees. In one corner stands a small rocking chair with a knitted shawl draped over the back, swaying almost imperceptibly, as if it remembers someone sitting there. Beside your bed is a simple nightstand, where a burnt-down candle rests in a waxy puddle on a dish, evidence of outside. A bird trills a few notes, as if calling you to come out and play. Through the half-open window, you can hear the world beyond your room waking up. Distant bird song echoing from tree to tree, and the faint rustle of a morning breeze stirring leaves. There might even be the far-off sound of water, perhaps a creek or stream, murmuring at the edge of hearing. The day is beckoning. You stand up, taking your time. The wooden floor creaks softly under your weight. Not a harsh squeak, but a friendly little greeting from the old boards. You run a hand through your hair, which is slightly mussed from sleep, and notice that the last shadows of grogginess are retreating from your mind. A clarity and calm anticipation begin to replace them, like the sky lightening as dawn turns to day. By the wash basin across the room, a pitcher of water waits, clear and cool. You wander over and pour a bit into the basin, the water tinkling gently. The cool splash on your face makes you inhale sharply with refreshment. You pat your cheeks dry with a soft linen towel, feeling more alert with each passing moment. Folding the towel back neatly, you decide it's time to properly greet the morning outside. You cross to the door, a sturdy wooden door with iron hinges that lightly groan as you pull it open. Before stepping out, you pause on the threshold. The world outside is still a gentle blue-green dream in the early light. You feel a tiny thrill of anticipation flutter in your chest. Wrapping the shawl from the rocking chair around your shoulders for a touch of warmth, you step forward. Bare feet meet the smooth, cool wood of the doorstep, then the dew-kissed earth just beyond. A whole tranquil world stretches out before you, waiting to be explored at this unhurried hour. With a heart full of quiet expectation, you close the door behind you and step fully into the fresh morning. Stepping outside, you are greeted by a world that feels freshly made just for you. The landscape is bathed in the soft glow of early sunlight. Long, golden rays slant across a yard of emerald grass, each blade crowned with a tiny droplet of dew. As you walk slowly forward, those dewdrops brush against your toes, cool and tickling, leaving dark prints on the grass where your feet have been. The morning air, you can make out the shapes of ripe tomatoes and the climbing vines of beans entwined around wooden stakes. The scent of mint wafts up as a stray breeze ruffles through a patch of it near your feet. A couple of butterflies flit lazily among the blossoms, their delicate wings, like stained glass, held up to the light. Beyond the garden, a modest stone well stands, its bucket hanging ready. A familiar old oak tree rises protectively beside it, its broad leaves whispering as they sway. The tree's bark is silvered with age and morning dampness. At its roots, a carpet of clover and tiny white daisies has sprung up, sprinkled as if by a generous hand. Perhaps the Sandman's hand, you muse playfully, imagining that the sand he scatters can also turn into these little blooms where it falls. To your right, the yard blends into an open meadow that rolls gently away toward a fringe of woods. The grass there is taller, seeded with wild flowers in pinks and purples. A faint path winds through it, one you've walked many times, judging by the way the grasses bow slightly in a narrow trail. Farther out, the silhouette of the forest stands in soft focus. The morning light paints the treetops in shades of sage and gold. You can identify a few types. Stately pines, their dark spires reaching upward, and clusters of birches with white, peeling bark that almost glows in the dawn. The forest seems to be still dreaming. It's quiet, save for the occasional rustle of a small creature moving under the canopy, too far for you to see. The sky overhead is a pale canvas, brushed with watercolor hues. Along the eastern horizon, it's tinted rose and apricot, the last traces of dawn. Directly above you, it fades into a powdery blue, with only a few wisps of cloud, delicate and translucent. As the sun continues to rise behind the hills, those wisps catch the light and blush pink for just a moment before turning white. A quiet bird flies across that expanse of sky. Perhaps a lark heading from one field to the next. Its song trickles down to you, a clear, carefree trill that seems to celebrate the gift of another. He must have slipped outside ahead of you, and now he welcomes you to the morning as if to say, "Isn't it a lovely day?" The cat's fur glistens in spots where he's picked up dew wandering through the underbrush. He pauses to give one paw a thorough lick, then blinks up at you with slow, contented eyes. You chuckle softly, bending to run your hand along his arched back. He purrs, a low rumble that vibrates against your fingers and presses into your touch before sauntering a few steps away to investigate a clump of grass for interesting smells. The two of you, human and cat, share this tranquil space as easy companions. Together you wander a bit farther into the yard. You feel the sun now, inching above the distant trees. Its warmth falls in gentle patches on your skin, balancing the coolness of the shade. In one bright beam, you close your eyes and tilt your face upward, letting the light paint orange behind your eyelids. For a moment, you simply listen and feel. The purr of the cat weaving around your legs again. The distant songs, the light breeze carrying the promise of a fair day. When you open your eyes, they fall upon a view that always brings you a quiet sense of gratitude. Past the meadow, beyond a few rolling knolls, you can just make out the silhouette of a village in the distance. The thatched roofs and a church steeple peak above a haze of morning mist. A thin wisp of smoke curls from one chimney, likely someone starting a cook fire for breakfast. It's far enough to not break the silence, merely a picture of life that you know is there if you need it. But right now, you relish the solitude and simplicity of your own little haven here. A faint clinking sound draws your attention closer once more. The bucket on the well, gently tapping the stone side as a breeze stirs the rope. This reminds you of the day's first tasks and comforts awaiting you. Perhaps a cup of tea brewed from those fresh mint leaves, or a warm broth to break your fast. The cat, ever perceptive, has now strolled toward the cottage door again, as if nudging you that it's time to start the morning routine, and perhaps time to fill his own dish with something tasty. You take one last, sweeping look at the tranquil world around you. The shining dew, the brightening sky, the peaceful trees, and then head toward the well to draw water. There's a sense of quiet purpose in your movements. The world has offered you its beauty this morning, and now you are ready to reciprocate with your gentle participation in the day ahead. The day's first tasks unfold naturally, with an easy, unhurried rhythm. You lift the well's wooden bucket, now brimming with clear water, and carry it toward the cottage. The bucket's metal handle is cool in your grip. It creaks softly with each step. A few splashes slosh over the rim and darken the earth at your feet, leaving a trail of little dark spots on the dusty path. The cat trots ahead of you, as if leading the way back inside, tail flicking with anticipation. Inside the cottage, the hearth sits quiet and gray from the night. You kneel and stir the ashes gently, discovering a couple of stubborn embers, still aglow, hiding in their blanket of white. With delicate care, you feed them a bit of kindling, dry twigs, and shavings of birch bark kept in a basket by the fireplace. You blow softly, coaxing the ember to brighten. It responds with a tiny flicker of orange. Encouraged, you add a few more pieces of wood. Before long, a thin wisp of smoke curls upward, carrying that familiar woody scent, and a small flame springs to life, crackling in a friendly hello. The growing fire paints the stone hearth with dancing light and begins to warm the chill from the room. From a hook on the hearth's side, you take a blackened iron kettle and pour in some of the fresh well water. You hang the kettle on its swing arm over the newborn flames. As the water heats, you move through the gentle motions of morning. You fetch a simple clay bowl and fill it with a ladle of water for the cat. The cat, knowing this part of the routine well, is already circling your legs. With a quiet chuckle, you set the bowl down and watch as he eagerly laps up the cool water, his pink tongue darting and his whiskers dripping. Next, you scoop a portion of yesterday's leftover stew or meat, a treat saved for him, into a little dish. The savory aroma of cooked potatoes and herbs briefly mixes with the fresh smell of morning. The cat purrs louder, nearly weaving between your ankles in excitement. All right, breakfast is served. You murmur under your breath in a playful tone, not exactly expecting an answer, just enjoying the companionship. He settles down to eat, and you smile at the soft crunch and lap sounds he makes, clearly content with the world. Turning back to your own meal, you prepare something simple and know. You remove it from the heat, pouring the hot water into a waiting clay mug where a handful of fresh mint leaves and a pinch of dried chamomile flowers sit. Almost immediately, the soothing herbal perfume fills the air. Cool mint and sweet floral notes dancing together. The tendrils of steam carry that aroma upward, and you breathe it in deeply. It's the kind of scent that clears the mind and settles the spirit all at once. With your mug of herbal tea and your simple breakfast in hand, you settle by the small window table. The chair cushions welcome you as you sink in. Outside, the world is fully awake now, but still gentle. Birds flit past the window, and you catch glimpses of the sun creeping higher, illuminating the tips of the garden sunflowers. You take a bite of the honeyed bread. The sweetness spreads across your tongue, rich and warm from the hearty grain beneath. A sip of mint chamomile tea follows, the warmth spreading through your chest, and the mint leaving a cool tingling in your mouth. As you eat, you take your time with each mouthful, truly noticing the textures and flavors. The bread is chewy and satisfying, the honey silky. The apple slices are crisp, Each bite releases a tiny burst of juice, tart and sweet. You feel grateful for these simple gifts of taste and nourishment. The cottage is quiet, but for the gentle crackle of the hearth and the occasional clink as you set your mug down on its saucer, those sounds mix with the softer ones from outside that filter in: a bird's chirrup, the rustle of leaves. The cat has finished his meal and hops onto the windowsill, positioning himself in a sunbeam that has found its way inside. He curls up there, a little gray loaf of fur, and begins a thorough grooming session, licking a paw and smoothing it over his ears. The sight makes you grin. His routine is as important to him as yours is to you. Once you finish eating, you wipe the last traces of honey from the wooden plate with your finger and lick it off. A small indulgence. You clean your dishes in the remaining water from the kettle, scrubbing gently with a bit of drop.
You grab a small wicker basket from a hook by the door, thinking it might be useful if you gather anything outside. Perhaps some fresh eggs from the coop, or a few early berries from the bramble at the yard's edge. The morning's light tasks are nearly done. Tea has warmed your belly, and you feel awake and alive. Stepping out once more into the sunlight, you consider what needs doing next. Maybe you'll wander to the garden to see if any vegetables are right for picking for the day's meals. Or perhaps it would be nice to stroll down to the creek for a bit of cool water on your feet and to see how the world looks from its banks. As you stand on the porch, lightly touching the doorframe in thought, an unexpected sight catches your eye and pauses your musings. Just beyond the garden gate, the old oak's shadow plays upon the ground, but beneath its broad branches you notice something amiss. The wooden gate that closes off your garden is askew, propped open at an odd angle. It seems one of its iron hinges has come loose. Maybe the night's breeze or a stray animal nudging through knocked it off balance. It's not a dire problem, but it won't close properly until you fix it. A small challenge presents itself for the morning. You smile to yourself, feeling no rush or frustration, just a gentle resolve to set it right. Basket in hand, you walk towards the gate, ready to give a bit of care and attention to this minor task as part of the slow, satisfying rhythm of your day. You approach the garden gate to assess the situation. The gate is a petite thing, made of wooden slats in a simple crisscross pattern, just high enough to keep out wandering rabbits. One of its two black iron hinges has indeed come loose from the post. The upper hinge still holds firm, but the lower one has lost the nail that secured it, causing the gate to sag and scrape the ground when moved. You run your fingers over the weathered wood of the fence post and the hinge. The metal is cool and a bit rusted, but still serviceable. It's just a matter of fastening it back on. Setting your basket down, you head back to the cottage for a few tools. From a small tool chest by the door, you retrieve a hammer, a couple of spare iron nails, and a length of twine, just in case a temporary tie is needed. The tools feel reassuring in your hands. Simple instruments that, in their own way, promise that most problems have solutions if approached with patience. Returning to the gate, you crouch and examine where the old nail might have gone. You spot it in the dirt nearby, half buried in the grass. Plucking it out, you see it's bent and no longer usable. A tiny ant, disturbed by your search, scurries over the bent nail, then goes on its way. You smile at the little creature's determination, then focus on your own task. You position the hinge back against the wood. With your shoulder, you nudge the gate up slightly so that it aligns properly with the post. The gate is heavier than it looks, but you manage to hold it steady.
Using one of the new nails, you press it through the hinge's hole into the old, familiar groove in the wood. The first gentle taps of the hammer ring out in the quiet morning. A bright tink, tink that sends a nearby grasshopper leaping away from the sudden vibration. The sound isn't harsh or grating. In fact, in the stillness, it almost has a rhythmic, musical quality. A woodpecker in the distance seems to answer it, mistaking your hammering for a fellow creature knocking on a tree. As you hammer, you take your time, pausing whenever the gate shifts or when you feel the nail bite not quite right. Patience is key. You adjust your grip and continue with measured strikes. The nail sinks deeper, straightening into place and securing the hinge. Soon it's flush with the metal plate and the wood, nice and firm. You test the hinge by gently swinging the gate back and forth. It moves smoothly now, with only a mild squeak, not unlike a content sigh from the old gate now back in working order. For good measure, you decide to reinforce the fix. You take the second nail and drive it into the post through another hole in the hinge strap. The hammering echoes a few times, and then all is still again. A light breeze picks up, rustling the leaves overhead, as if offering applause for a job well done. Standing up, you dust your hands on your pants, leaving faint smudges of rust and dirt. There's a small sense of accomplishment in completing this little repair. The gate is no grand project, no monumental achievement, but looking at it now, standing straight and closing properly against its latch, you feel a warm satisfaction. It's these humble victories tending to the little things that often set the tone for a good day. You open and close the gate a couple of times to be sure. It swings freely, the latch clicking snugly into its catch with a pleasing, secure sound. The vegetables in the garden beyond seem to nod in approval. Or perhaps that's just the breeze teasing their leaves. You gather the stray bent nail and any tiny splinters that came off, placing them in your basket to dispose of later, leaving the area as tidy as you found it. The cat, who had been lazily watching your efforts from a sunny patch of grass, decides to inspect your handiwork now. He pads over, ears perked with curiosity, and with the minor repair taken care of, you feel the day can continue with ease. You coil the twine and put it and the hammer back into your basket. There's no rush to return the tools just yet. You might need them for something else as you go about your morning. But for now, you straighten up and take a satisfied breath. The scent of disturbed earth from where you knelt mixes with the sweet smell of grass. A single bead of sweat that had formed on your brow during the work cools in the gentle breeze. You glance around, deciding what to do next. The creek at the edge of your property catches your attention. Its faint babbling is a constant undertone to the morning sounds. The idea of a small excursion tugs at you. With chores done and the sun climbing a bit higher, it seems a perfect time to reward yourself with a leisurely walk and perhaps a bit of exploration. Slipping out through the now mended gate, you make your way into the meadow beyond the garden. The tall grasses brush against your calves as you walk, and a few stray seeds stick to your clothing, hitchhiking until you flick them off. You carry the basket lightly in one hand, just in case you come across wild berries or interesting stones by the water's edge that you might want to bring back. The day's gentle rhythm carries you forward. With the small challenge resolved, you are free to simply enjoy your surroundings, to interact with the living world that beckons from just beyond your fence. You follow a narrow footpath that you know well, leading toward the sound of flowing water, ready to immerse yourself in the quiet wonders that await just a little farther ahead. The narrow footpath leads you through the heart of the meadow toward the beckoning sound of water. Each step along the way is a small adventure in sensation. The sun, now a bit higher in the sky, warms your back as you walk. Your fingers trail lightly over the tall meadow grasses beside the path, feeling their dewy, silk thread ends glide through your hand. Grasshoppers spring away ahead of you, clicking their secret little songs. You pause to let one land on your basket's rim, admiring the iridescent green of its body before it leaps off again into the wild tangle of Queen Anne's lace and clover. Soon, the grasses give way to a band of pebbles and dark, damp earth, signaling that the creek is near. Retreat to the shelter of your porch as the first few drops of rain begin to fall. They land with soft taps on the leaves and a light patter on the roof, sporadic at first, each drop creating its own dark polka dot on the dusty ground. You settle into a wooden chair on the porch, pulling a light blanket around your shoulders, more for coziness than warmth. The cat joins you, leaping onto the windowsill nearby and curling up, content to watch the world turn silver with rain. The sky has pulled on a quilt of gray clouds, but it's a friendly gray, the kind that makes all the colors of the earth seem richer by contrast. Under this softer light, the greens of the garden deepen, and the brown of the soil grows dark and fragrant. A breeze picks up, cooler now, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of impending rain. Petrichor. It's that earthy perfume that rises from ground and pavement alike. A smell of dust turned to clay, of thirsty leaves rejoicing. You breathe it in, and it feels like the world is sighing in relief around you. A low rumble of thunder grumbles far off, barely audible. It's more of a gentle suggestion than a real storm's threat. The creatures of your little domain take heed and find cover. You notice the sparrows that were playing in a puddle have fluttered up to the eaves for shelter, and a pair of butterflies that danced over the meadow have vanished to wait out the drizzle under broad leaves. The air temperature drops just a touch, enough that the warmth of your tea from earlier, which you've reheated and hold in your hands, is a welcome comfort against your palms. Then the rain truly arrives. Not a furious downpour, but a steady, soothing shower. Millions of tiny droplets cascade through the foliage, drumming lightly on every surface. The sound is mesmerizing, a constant patter that ebbs and flows in waves, sometimes swelling as the wind drives the rain slightly sideways, then easing as the wind stills. It's like the whispering of countless voices all saying, "Hush, hush, hush," in unison. From your dry perch, you watch as the rain kisses the earth. Little pools begin to form in the indentations of the garden path. Each raindrop creates a crown-shaped splash, sending ripples outward until they merge with others. The garden's sunflowers bow under the weight of water on their petals, nodding their hello to the rain. The cat blinks slowly at a few stray misty sprinkles that reach the windowsill, but he's far enough back to stay mostly dry, and wise enough not to wander out into the wet. You extend a hand beyond the porch roof, palm up, and let the rain collect in your hand. The drops are cool and invigorating. They leave tiny transparent beads clinging to your skin, which you then gently shake off. Watching them fall to the ground, you feel a kinship with the weather, as if you too are part of this gentle cycle.
The scent in the air intensifies. Fresh rain on soil and stone. There's nothing quite like it. It's a clean, renewing smell, laced with hints of growing things. You imagine you can even detect the sweetness of grass and the resin of pine being released into the atmosphere. Memories float in on that aroma. You recall other days when rain kept you indoors with a book and a candle, or the times as a child you'd run out and stomp in puddles until you were soaked and giggling. Those days were perhaps more rambunctious. Today's rain invites contemplation rather than play. The change in the weather also brings a change in the day's energy. The vibrant activity of the morning birds singing, chores being done, sun blazing, has given way to a hushed interlude. It's as if afternoon has decided to take a brief pause, washing everything clean and urging everyone to slow down once more. You certainly feel slower, more reflective. The dimmer light and rhythmic rain are like a gentle lullaby for the spirit, not putting you to sleep this time, but coaxing your mind into quiet thought. Inside the cottage, the interior grows a bit dim in the gray light. You consider lighting a small lantern or candle to chase away the gloom, not out of fear, but for the simple warmth it adds. Rising from your chair, you enter briefly and light a fat beeswax candle on the kitchen sill. Its flame wavers and glows, casting golden flickers on the wall. The scent of honey from the wax mixes with the moist air that drifts in, creating a cozy haven from which to watch the rainfall. Back on the porch, you notice that the intensity of the rain has already begun to taper. What was a steady shower is easing into a gentler drizzle. The thickest clouds are starting to pass, and a shy brightness hints in the sky to the west, where perhaps the sun is trying to peek through again. The thunder's distant grumble has ceased entirely, leaving only the drip-drop of water from eaves and leaves. Your cat decides to venture out now that the rain is nearly done. He hops down from the sill and delicately tests the wet ground with one paw, shaking off each step as if walking on water. Amused, you watch him zigzag around puddles, no doubt on the hunt for the unfortunate worms that often surface on wet ground. Life is returning to the garden slowly. A brave robin emerges from the shelter of a shrub to tug at those same worms, and the sparrows at the eaves shake out their feathers, eager to get back to their chatter under the refreshed sky. In the distance, beyond the cottage and meadow, a ray of sunlight breaks through, illuminating a swath of hillside. The world feels different than it did an hour ago, cleansed and calm. Everything has a silvery sheen, droplets clinging to every petal and blade. The air is cooler, and in your lungs it feels purer, washed of dust. You draw in a deep breath and sigh it out, feeling a subtle shift within yourself as well, as if the rain has cleared some internal fog and left you quiet and thoughtful. Leaning on the porch railing, your tea now finished and the cup resting by your elbow, you let your mind wander in this rain-washed silence. Inevitably, it turns inward to gentle reflections about yourself and this day, about the journey of life in general. The stage is set. Nature's interlude has given you the perfect moment to look within, to listen to the raindrops echo in your own heart, and see what thoughts might surface. As the rain tapers off and the world outside glistens with new light, you find your gaze turning inward. Leaning against the porch railing, you become quietly aware of your own self, body and mind in this very moment. You notice the steady rise and fall of your chest as you breathe, a calm metronome matching the dripping rhythm of water from the eaves. Your heartbeat is relaxed, a slow and gentle thump that you can almost feel in your fingertips as they rest on the wood. It amazes you how at ease your body is. Every muscle is loose after the morning's exertions and the midday rest. There's a pleasant heaviness in your limbs, the kind that tells you you've moved and worked just enough to appreciate being still now. A mild ache in your knees from crouching by the creek and kneeling to fix the gate makes itself known when you shift your weight. It's nothing painful, more like the echo of your earlier activities. You stretch your legs a bit and the slight stiffness eases. Rather than feeling annoyed by it, you find it almost satisfying. It's a reminder that you've used your body today in simple, productive ways. I'm alive and I've done things, you think, recalling a time when life felt too stagnant or constrained. Here, each small ache is a trophy of freedom and presence. Your mind, much like your body, feels clear and unhurried. In the city, in some other life perhaps, your thoughts might have raced ahead to the next task or dwelled on some unresolved worry. But in this sanctuary of slow living, your thoughts are more like gentle clouds passing, distinct but not clinging. You find yourself reflecting on the path that brought you here, not in a linear recounting of events, but in a more emotional sense. How long has it been since you felt such utter peace? Perhaps as a child falling asleep to the sound of your mother's voice, or on a lazy summer vacation ages ago. It's day by day you've tended to the garden of your life to remove weeds of stress and plant seeds of moments like this. You run a hand along your forearm, feeling the texture of your own skin, warm from being wrapped in the blanket with a few fine raindrops still clinging. A few faint scars and marks catch your eye, each with a story. There's a thin, pale line on your thumb from a childhood carpentry lesson when the knife slipped. Touching it now brings a phantom tingle and the memory of your father's soothing voice saying it would heal. There's a small cluster of freckles on your wrist that you once were self-conscious about, but now you find endearing, like a constellation unique to you. These little physical reminders ground you in who you are, someone shaped by time and experience, but still growing and changing with each passing day. You chuckle softly as you realize the extent of your contentment. Who would have imagined that you, once perhaps restless or caught up in life's hustle, could be perfectly happy on a quiet day with nothing important accomplished beyond fixing a gate, making a meal, and communing with nature. And yet, you feel more fulfilled than any checklist or busy schedule has ever made you. There's a gentle humor in that realization. You muse that perhaps the Sandman sprinkled not only dream dust, but also a bit of wisdom dust on you at some point, teaching you the value of slowing down. For a moment, you consider the solitude you're in. It's true, you've spent this day mostly alone, save for the cat and the creatures around. In another mindset, you might have felt lonely, but right now, you feel deeply connected to nature, to memories, to the wider world, in an almost spiritual sense. Solitude has become not emptiness, but space to feel and think freely. You think of friends or family who are far away in distance, if this world indeed contains them. And you send them a kind thought, hoping they too find a tranquil moment in their day. You realize that being content in your own company is a gift that not everyone has been able to open. And you're quietly proud that you have unwrapped it for yourself here. Your physical comfort adds to this reflective mood. You wiggle your toes, now dry and tucked into the warmth of socks or the blanket's fold, recalling how cold the creek was. The contrast makes you appreciate the current coziness. Your stomach feels satisfied from the good, simple food you've had and anticipates the next meal calmly, without urgency. Even your breathing, slow and rhythmic. The steady rumble is almost meditative, and you let it lead you into deeper introspection. Your mind wanders to the concept of time. This day has felt both long and fleeting, rich with detail, yet flowing effortlessly. You haven't checked a clock, yet your body has guided you through its natural schedule of waking, eating, resting, and reflection. There's something profoundly right about that. How often, in a more hectic life, did you force yourself against your natural rhythm? Waking too early, working through meals, ignoring fatigue. Here you move with time, not against it. The thought makes you vow silently to honor this kind of gentle rhythm as much as you can, always. A light sigh escapes your lips. It's the sigh of contentment, but also of a gentle longing, not for something different, but perhaps a hope that such days could be shared. Maybe one day you will invite a dear friend into this experience, or perhaps you'll stumble upon a fellow traveler in this dream-like world. You imagine for a moment what it would be like to have a companion sitting next to you, both of you silently enjoying the rain's aftermath and exchanging a knowing smile. The image is sweet, and you tuck it away as a maybe someday. For now, you have the best company possible: the open sky, the faithful cat, and your own heart, which at last feels like a friendly place. As you reflect on yourself, you also notice how seamlessly you've been part of the environment today. There was no clash or struggle. You fixed what needed fixing, you rested when you were tired, you found joy in the simple interplay with nature. It dawns on you that, in doing so, you've honored both your physical needs and your mental well-being. A sense of harmony envelops you, like you are exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you should be doing, living fully in each moment. Another deep breath in, and you let it out slowly, watching a few small birds now flit across a clearing patch of sky. You feel a tenderness toward yourself, a compassion that maybe was hard to come by in busier times. Here you are as gentle with yourself as you are with the cat or the garden, and that realization is profound. I should always treat myself with this kindness, you think. After all, you are the one constant companion you will certainly have from birth until death. It makes sense to be your own friend. This line of thought naturally leads you to consider the larger tapestry of life. The peaceful day is one thread in it, and you know there are other threads, some darker, some more intense, that have come before and will come after. Not every day can be as idyllic, and challenges will arise beyond a loose gate hinge. But perhaps you can carry. In a way, you feel the Sandman's gift is not just in nightly dreams, but also in moments like these. Moments of calm clarity that nourish you so you can face whatever comes when you eventually return to the busier streams of life. The cat shifts in your lap, drawing you out of your reverie a bit. He purrs louder, and you realize you've paused your petting. You resume scratching that favorite spot behind his ears, and he closes his eyes in kitty bliss. You chuckle. All right, I'm here," you whisper to him. In truth, that statement is for both of you. I'm here, present, alive, aware. The air is growing fresher and cooler as the late afternoon progresses. The rain clouds are moving on, and a soft glow begins to radiate from the west, where the sun will eventually set. You allow your reflections to settle. There will be more time for deep thought in the quiet evening ahead, but now a gentle stirring of action returns to you. You feel the urge for a small activity, maybe to start preparing for the coming evening, or simply to stretch your legs and see how the world looks after the rain. Your body, rested and content, is ready to move gently again, and your mind, having taken stock of itself, is quiet and clear, like a calm lake reflecting a clear sky. With a final pat, you shift the cat from your lap, much to his mild annoyance, and stand up. He mews in protest at the disturbance, then hops down gracefully, deciding to follow along with whatever you're about to do next. The reflective spell of the afternoon is not broken. It's merely transitioning into a new form. Dusk is approaching, and with it, perhaps, thoughts of the broader world and its stories begin to surface, just as naturally as the evening stars will soon appear. With the afternoon drawing to a close, dusk tiptoes in softly. You light a brass oil lamp on your porch, its warm glow pushing back the growing shadows. As the golden light flickers, it brings to mind evenings of your childhood, when similar lamps or candles were lit in cozy rooms, and the day's bustling gave way to nighttime rituals. A familiar nostalgia washes over you, and with it comes the memory of the stories and folklore that nurtured you to sleep as a child, chief among them, the tale of the Sandman. You find yourself smiling, eyes turned toward the first faint star peeking out in the dimming sky. The version of the Sandman you cherished was a benevolent soul. You recall one of your favorite storybooks, its pages now well worn in your memory, which described him as a kindly old man with a long beard and a twinkle in his eye. He wore a coat of many colors, or perhaps it changed colors as he moved. You can't quite remember, but the idea dazzled you as a child. In the illustrations, he carried a little satchel or pouch at his side, bulging with magical sand. Each night, the story said, he would creep softly into houses at the quietest hour, so light-footed that not even the mice would stir. With careful, loving care, he'd sprinkle a pinch of his sand onto the eyes of children who resisted sleep. Instantly, their eyelids would grow heavy with sweet dreams. You recall how you used to squeeze your eyes shut when your mother read that part, imagining you could feel the grit of the sand at the corners of your eyes. And sure enough, each morning you'd wake with a bit of crust there and delightfully think, "He came! The Sandman came!" Another tale from a European tradition comes to mind, one your grandmother told you in her lilting voice. In that version, they called him Ole Lukøy, Ole Shut-eye in Danish. She described how Ole Lukøy would arrive each evening carrying 2 umbrellas. One umbrella was said to be full of wonderful pictures and colors on the inside. He would spread this over the good children, and they would dream delightful adventures all night under its canopy of magic. The other umbrella was plain and had no pictures at all. This one he held over children who had been naughty or too fussy, and under its blank shade they would fall into a deep, heavy sleep with no dreams until morning. As a child, that detail always fascinated you. You would wonder, did I behave well enough today for the pretty umbrella? It motivated you, in small ways, to be kind and helpful in hopes of earning vivid dreams. Sometimes your grandfather would tease that he saw the Sandman peek in to check on you. "I think I just saw a little man in a silver coat slip behind the door," he'd say with a wink, causing you to giggle and dive under the covers, half believing, half knowing